Meeting to order, the Parks and Rec Committee. We'll start with public comment. The board takes public comment on issues and concerns not on the regular agenda at this time. A public comment form must be submitted to the board liaison prior to the time the meeting is scheduled to begin. Public input on a regular agenda item will be taken at its appropriate discussion. Citizens should speak from the lectern, address all comments to the dais, begin by stating their name, an address or single-member district number, and limit their remarks to less than 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment? Public comment? Cool. Party. We'll move on to item number 2, consent agenda. Consider approving the September 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes, and I will, once everybody's had a chance to review it, I will entertain a motion and second to approve them.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right. We'll move on to item number 3, regular agenda, public hearing and comment. Item number 2, discuss promotions and marketing for Parks and Recreation facilities, events, and programs, and recommend any related matters.
Just right quick, if y'all could pull your mics up closer to your mouths too, to make sure we catch all the audio. So at the last meeting, we were talking about Lily Fest and kind of the logistics of that event, and then also talking about, have we been promoting it? If not, could we promote it more, and how could we do that? And so there's different ways that we promote events. Internally, we can promote within the city through our public information office, as well as advertising. But we don't really have good budgets for advertising. Our budget is 0, and so we work with the communications office to do a lot of our advertising, getting the word out, through social media primarily, and press releases. So we put this on the agenda so we can talk about that. As far as bigger events and getting the word out outside of San Angelo, then we really need to work with the Chamber of Commerce. So I did talk to Jeremy Bart, and we had a discussion. He's not really available right now, so hopefully we can bring him back at the next meeting to talk about what they do. So today we're going to talk more about what our communications office does. And so Brian Groves is here to talk about that. And one good example of what he can do is from Riverfest, and so he can talk about that. There's a process that we have to follow to ask for their help, and then they have a process for doing that, providing that help. But we really have to initiate that. He doesn't always know or have the time.
Yeah, so I'm Brian Groves. I'm the communications director. We are a 2-person office. Lorelei Day, who's running the cameras right now, is the other person in our office. So there's 2 of us, and so we have to try to keep up with 20 or 30 so departments and divisions. So we try to do our best to know what's going on, but as you can imagine, it's impossible to know every single thing that's going on. So that's why we have a process where we have our different departments submit their needs. So if it's Riverfest, if it's recreation, registration, things like that. Lily Fest is a little different because it's an event in a park that's not necessarily run by the city. I will tell you, after this meeting that y'all had last time, I reached out to the person that's in charge, and we worked with him and sent stuff out to the media. We posted on social, all those things. He had several interviews and things like that, so we were able to help. But we didn't know who that point of contact person was, and we really hadn't seen that much information other than the event is on this day. And so when we're trying to put something out, we like to have more information than just it's this day. We need to know what's going on, who's the target, is it free, all those things. And so that's why we have a process internally where we ask our departments to give us all those who, what, whys, and things like that. Riverfest is a great example. We worked with Sid and Carl and Jesse to promote that once we announced it, I believe, in July. And so we worked with targeted Facebook ads and things like that, and did a really good job. I sent an email to them on Monday that it was, for the last 7 days, it was the most visited page on our website, which doesn't sound like a really impressive thing, but when you think about people pay their water bill on our website, trash, animal services, it's hard to outdo those. And so for Riverfest to have had more views, had more attention on there is impressive to me. And so, yeah, we're here to help however we can. We just, have to work with our people and to know what's going on, so.
Now, I believe you worked with the graphics design school
Sure.
class?
So I'm a video person. Lorelei is writing. Those are some of our big strengths. One of the things that we don't have a graphic designer. And so Lorelei really spearheaded the approach to working with ASU this year. And so we're working with their graphic design department. And so we have access to a big group of students that are working on graphics when we need them. And so if you saw the Riverfest wayfinding map, that was kind of the first big thing that we had them do. And so they were able to do that to show people where everything was. And so we have them at our disposal for the whole year, and my understanding is they want to keep on going with it for as long as we want to, which is really exciting, so.
And just remind us, what process do we need to follow to
Sure.
engage your
Sure, so we have an internal form that we have staff use, and basically it has a number of check boxes and things like that, do we need a press release, do you need a video, do you need a social media post, and then it asks for what are you advertising, or what do you need, and when's your deadline, and things like that. And so that really gives us all the information that we need to create a product, and then we work with the delivery method on that. He talked about advertising budget. Our advertising budget for a year is $1,000. So we don't have that much advertising either. We try to stretch that as much as we can. And so we do a lot. We depend a lot on our media partners. We have a really good relationship with our media partners, and they help us get the word out. And then our biggest resource that we have is Facebook. So, yeah.
So is there, I don't know, a strategic marketing plan for the city? I mean, does the city talk about what the messages they want to give out, or is it just, or does it come on the fly from the
It comes on a fly
inputs that you get?
It comes on a fly at a moment's notice. I can tell you that Lorelei and I have plans every single day, and most of the time those plans do not get executed when they need to, because things pop up, whether that's a July 4th flood, or whether that's animal shelter, or whether that's police. Anything that's audio-visual, we're responsible for. We record 10 to 12 board meetings a month, and so one of us is here at those all the time. And so there's anything that's written has to go through our office. We also maintain the website. So that's, I think last I saw was almost 2,500 pages on the website. We're also undertaking a big task of ADA compliance when it comes to the website and PDFs. So we do have plans, and we do have strategies, but also we have to be able to pivot at a moment's notice, because as you can imagine, whether it's streets or water main breaks or floods or natural disasters, we have to be ready for anything and pretty much stop what we're doing and go do that and come back to, like, for instance, I was working on a video on our street program back in June, and I haven't touched it since June, because between the flood and Riverfest and all other duties, I haven't been able to get back to it. So anyway, that's just kind of a snapshot, I guess. So.
A day in the life of Brian.
We're blessed to get to do what we do. So.
Cool. Well, thank you, Brian.
Sure thing.
Any more questions or discussion?
All right, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Does that cover item 2, Carl?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Move on to item 3, discuss the Adopt a Spot program and recommend any related matters.
You have 2 documents associated with this item. Yeah, we didn't do a PowerPoint presentation this time.
I'm flying blind over here, Carl. Okay, I don't have a
For-
big old TV in front of me.
Feels more free without it. One document is this list. I think you've got 2 different copies of this list, which is the City of San Angelo Parks and Recreation, Making Memories, Building Community. It's the complete, basically, asset inventory in terms of properties that we have in the Parks and Recreation Department overall. So that includes the fort, civic events, and the cemetery, but also Parks and Recreation. You have another copy of this that has notes on it. We'll talk about that at the next item. But this this document shows you all the facilities, the properties that we have, and there's quite a number of them. Most of them are the parcels that you see at the last page or two. Does everybody have a copy of this?
Yes. You're talking about the table, the
So-
adopt a stock table?
This,
Yeah.
this document,
Yeah, I got that one too.
yeah. So that's all the properties that we have. And so basically, any of these properties that aren't already spoken for are available to be adopted. In the Adopt a Spot program, we found out it works best if we work with whoever wants to come in to adopt a park, to basically custom make it for whatever they need. If they just want a particular area, like a garden within a park, we'll work with them and have them just adopt that garden. We don't want to separate parks into too many areas, because then it gets kind of cluttered with the Adopt a Spot signage and a little more difficult to control and manage. But bottom line is, we're pretty flexible in how we can custom make those arrangements with any individual or group or business that wants to adopt a property or a facility. So that second list shows you what we currently have adopted out, and it changes. And to stay active, well, actually, I'll let Barbara's back. She's not-
Barbara's back.
She's back to present this item. She spent the time with this program, she, having just left the position. Her position was the coordinator for the Adopt a Spot program for us. So she can speak more about the beans and the bullets.
Okay, so with the program, you have the list of all of the areas that are taken and some that are open. Whenever we have this application, the sign-up sheet, it is posted online. And so that's typically where people get it, and they usually, print it out or fill it out, send it in to me via email or bring it in personally. And at that time, I would go over that with them to make sure I understood exactly where they wanted, because a lot of times they don't know exactly where it is. So on that sign-up sheet, there's also an area for them to put a sign for them to, if whatever company or in memory of. And so I wanted to make sure I got all of those details down. So once they do complete that, I send it to Mario for his review. If they're wanting to adopt one of these spots that are on here, these spots are already established. Sometimes people come in and they want to adopt a certain area that's not on here. That's something I would take to Mario. Mario then would talk with Carl to make sure it's a good area. It's, of course, city area, and, and it's safe for them to adopt it. What we also discuss is how often, like what they want to do to that spot. Are they just wanting to pick up the litter? Are they wanting to plant things? Are they wanting to do anything other than that? So we really discuss that. It's all on that sign-up form that goes to Mario, and Mario is the one that kind of contacts them, and he gets with them on kind of what they want to do. Along with that sign-up sheet, there's also an agreement that they complete and sign, and also a volunteer agreement. So any volunteers that we have working, in any of our spots, they have to sign a release to make sure, for legal purposes. So, and then after some, it just depends on kind of what they want to do. Sometimes they want to do their maintenance monthly, sometimes every 3 months. It would just depend, like he was saying. We kind of make it to what they can and want to do. And when they get done with that, they complete a maintenance form. That form is sent to me, and then I would document that on a spreadsheet, because that is also tracked and kept up with on how often people are doing it. So a lot of it's handled via email,
Cool.
So do we have a set of expectations or requirements for anybody that wants to do that? And what are like the minimum, other than signing a release, what's like the minimum expectation?
The minimum, well, they have 4 different levels on the policy. I don't have the policy in front of me, but there's 4 different levels on the policy.
Okay.
And I think the minimum is 1 time a year. I think that was one of the
Just
minimum.
do like a cleanup
Cleanup,
maintenance thing?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Pulling weeds, things of that nature. So that would be the minimum, and whatever they sign up for. On that form, when they send me the maintenance, every month I'll go in and I'll look and I'll start tracking who's sending stuff in, who isn't, and go back and look at what their level is. And I would send reminder emails, hey, if you have maintenance sheets, send it in, that way we can keep up with those.
So the agreement basically, they spell out the expectations of what they're supposed to do?
Yes,
and
sir.
then And then you do follow up with them?
Yes,
So what's an example of, the most engaged adopt a spot adopter?
I can tell you.
I've got a recent example. You can go ahead and put up. Here's a recent
I think the
example.
Concho River Conservancy did a really good one. Mario can probably tell you more about that, what they did.
Yeah, so like Carl was saying, and Barbara was saying, there's different agreements. For example, we've got one right now that is adopting the triangle on Sherwood Way
With the steer
with the steer
by Texas.
sculpture, and they have agreed to go in and do some significant renovations. They're redoing the irrigation, planting. They're agreeing to keep up with the mowing, cleaning the beds and such and so forth. And then we've got others that will agree to clean up one time a year.
Okay.
So it just varies.
Yeah, I was just trying to get understanding of the scope.
Yes.
And so do we have places that like we desperately want adopted and we have ideas that, we could do, or we just wait, or is it just when people say they want to do it, we're all happy to partner with them and do stuff? Are we soliciting adoptees other than what's on the website, or?
Well, the example of the triangle, we call it the McLaughlin Triangle because he donated the property to the city. That's probably the highest level. We don't like having the adopters that adopt a whole entire park and they fully maintain it. So what he described is pretty much the highest level. But I don't think we've turned anybody away.
No, not that I can recall. We had one just recently that wants to do a section of Sulphur Draw Park, and we have agreed to do that. But like Carl mentioned earlier, we really don't want to split it up just so it doesn't get cluttered with signage and responsibilities. But in that case, we made an exemption and agreed to let them maintain that area.
Is there a cost associated with any of these, or
Just the sign and staff time.
just the sign? Okay. Well, from the organization standpoint,
Well, it sounds like some of it are, like, they're making significant improvements to this one, right?
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
But it's at
But
their
it's
discretion. It's not like y'all say, hey,
it's not at a cost to us. We don't provide the material for them to go out and revamp that irrigation or.
That's on
We,
them.
we may provide our assistance with the scope of what we use in other places, so that way they follow those guidelines.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about standards and guidelines.
Standards and
right?
guidelines, yes, sir. Absolutely. So nothing gets done at these sites without us approving it. So if somebody wants to go in and trim some trees, we've got to approve the vendor and what they're trying to do as far as irrigation. Like I talked about, there's specs and stuff that we go off of that we require them to use.
So another example might be and I know Carl and I have talked to it a couple times, like the Kiwanis open space. I was about to call it a park, but like Kiwanis open space. If a Kiwanis club wanted to do an adopt thing, wouldn't be any cost. We could sign up for the bare minimum standard, pick up trash, pull weeds once a year kind of thing, and have that. All we'd really be out is signage.
So I do want to clarify, I did look it up. The minimum level 1 is 4 times a year. Your minimum 1-year contract
Yeah.
is the 1 year. So level 1 says you have to pick up litter 4 times a year. And then it progresses level 2, 3, 4. And starting in level 2, it talks about in addition to and care of the site, according to the needs list, including trees, shrubs, and/or ground cover, some watering, maintenance of sandboxes, graffiti, removal as needed, and so on. So what I am a little curious about is when you start expanding it like that, are we creating an atmosphere where people can't properly maintain these things and it's almost becoming undesirable to want to adopt a park? Or, like, are we making it too complex?
Well, if I understand you, that's the reason I did not include the agreement as part of your package, because I guess in hindsight, we probably need to redo that, because we virtually custom make these agreements for whatever the group or the individual's willing to take on.
But wouldn't it just be easier to packages as one simplistic, adopt a park and just help clean it up? Just like adopt a highway, help clean it up. Like, people who adopt a highway aren't responsible for maintaining said highway, they're
Right.
just going out to clean it.
Right, that's why, that's the bare minimum, yes. But if they want to take on more, they can if they want to, and we're okay with their taking on more.
But then what happens when they take on more and then they stop? And they've created an atmosphere, say they've added stuff, they've altered things, and all of a sudden they're not the ones taking care of it anymore.
I don't know that that's happened, and if it,
Well, like,
we don't keep them, if, we don't keep that arrangement.
I know, but if I wanted to adopt a park and I said, okay, my group, we're gonna go and plant some trees. And you say, okay, you can go plant some trees, you're gonna be responsible for watering them. And I would say, okay. I go out there and I do that for 5 years, and I'm like, okay, actually, our group is, we're gonna stop. We don't wanna adopt this park anymore. Now you have 5 additional trees in that park that you are responsible for watering, otherwise,
That's why I'm saying we custom make these. In that case, that wouldn't be an adopt a spot situation. It would be like working with Kiwanis to do something at the open space, just kind of more like a small project. But after that project, I mean, once like a tree is planted, it's on us to maintain, like you say. I don't know that we would go into the arrangement having somebody else maintain those trees. We would take on that maintenance. So in that example, it would be a project. It wouldn't be an ongoing adopt a spot. Unless that group wanted to stay at that property to pick up litter and keep things looking good, the city would continue to maintain the trees.
yeah, that's why I asked the question about standards, because somebody's going to install an irrigation system, you guys are going to own that eventually, right? And you know,
probably-
Right, that's why we work with them to make sure that we have the same heads and valves and everything.
and it's just a system that you know, that you have the ability to maintain, because,
That's right. Everything that we do, like I was mentioning earlier, is approved by our staff before we allow people to do that kind of stuff. And Alicia, speaking to your point, if somebody did decide to go in and said, hey, I want to plant 5 trees at this park, we don't just plant trees without running irrigation to these trees. So even if the contract or their agreement expires, we still have the ability to water these trees via our irrigation system. And at that point, it would just be pruning and watering, the same that we're going to do whether they're there or not.
so have we told somebody they can't do something they want to do? Has that ever happened?
That we tell them, they want to do something, we
So
tell.
somebody came in and said, hey, I want to build, you know, I don't know.
I'm sure
you
it
know.
has, but I can't think.
Because what I'm hearing Alicia say is, you know, you want this to be like
Well, yeah.
easy for people to participate in, right?
well, correct. You want to make it desirable, so you want these groups to come in and do it. And yeah, I see that there's those different levels, and that can be great, but I'm also wondering, are we overcomplicating it?
But
Like, is there a way to market it
we
where it's
don't-
just simply,
We
you know,
don't,
bring your group out? I mean, you know, all the Girl Scouts, Boy Scout troops we have, all the different sports program groups we have, you know, market to the schools, anything like that, making it so simplistic. Adopt this spot, you'll have a plaque, and all we ask is at least 4 times a year you go out and pick it up, or something
that's the bare minimum, yes.
of something, or
Yeah,
increase it.
I think the other levels are more for, like, for example, if you're HEB and you have an army of staff, right? It might be easier to have a system to where you go out there more than 4 times a year for a spot, because you may only need 3 people for certain spots,
And I-
right? You know, so like, I think it's important to have the levels, but having that level 1, I mean, I think accommodates the need for those who, hey, we want to serve the community, but we don't want to be overwhelmed with a task. But yet we have those other levels for those who are like, you know what, this really means a lot to me, I want to be out here more often. So I think it is important to still have the levels.
The levels, in my opinion, are more suggestive. That's why we really just custom make these to whatever the group wants to take on. because they're volunteering.
And remind me, they're like annual contracts, like year to year kind of thing, or?
Yeah, we basically, we check, have they been keeping up with what they're supposed to do? If so, after the year, we'll re-engage with them. Do you want to continue, yes or no?
Okay.
And we just extend it. I think there's been some folks we've had a long time. I don't know what the longest is, but going back to the question about turning some things away. Actually, folks have wanted to plant more trees in the Red Arroyo, which would be nice, but there's issues with salt in the soils, and we don't have irrigation there, and we don't have the money to run irrigation and keep that up. So yes, people have come to us about asking, can we plant more trees in the Red Arroyo? No, not at this time.
What are the numbers in red? What's the difference between the numbers in red and the numbers in black? On this sheet?
Does it mean anything, or
this-
somebody
on
just
this
changed the
sheet.
font?
Barbara, do you know?
Some are in red.
Yes, whenever,
And some are in black.
whenever this was developed, all of them were numbered. Whenever I went through and the beginning of this last year, I sent emails and letters out to every single person who had adopted a spot, because we were not getting a lot of feedback on any of them. So I sent that out and I tracked all of it, and whenever they would respond back, I would put their name in there and I would make their number black. That's just something for me to see, that's all. And then as it went, I can see some of them are still red that needed to be black, but that's fine. It was just something, it doesn't really mean anything, only to me.
And I'll say that Barbara did a phenomenal job on revamping this, because prior to Barbara, it was kind of all over the place, and there were people that were not responding to, the needs of the property, and Barbara kind of honed in on tracking those folks down and saying, hey, this is your responsibility. If you're not prepared to take on that responsibility, we're going to remove your sign, let somebody else come and adopt it. But she was very successful in getting mostly everybody to say, yeah, we want to continue, what do we need to do to continue, and now we're on a better maintenance plan with those groups.
And I also reached out to other people, like if I knew someone somewhere, I'd say, hey, we have this program, it might be something good for your company, and so I reached out to a few people to kind of nudge them to see if that's something, because a lot of people didn't even know about it, which whenever we start advertising, that's going to help a lot.
But like Kids Kingdom is on here, and there's nobody like assigned to them or something like that. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have in the,
somebody could
we
sign
have
up
in the
and adopt
past.
yes, we had in the past.
Okay, interesting.
And we used to have more of a budget to advertise, and we used to run ads in the Family Magazine, and I think elsewhere. We don't really have that money now, but we could work with the communications office. Probably springtime is better, something we get ready in the winter and market in the spring, just to show, here's the program, here's some places that are available, some nice places that people may want to say, hey, well, our organization can do that. You get the word out and get some more folks to adopt some places.
So how valuable is this? I mean, we can make improvements, since, somebody's
Yeah.
got to do that, and it takes time, and I'm not trying to sound negative, but is this something that should be a priority? I mean, to me, that's what the question I'm calling. Well, where are our priorities in all this? What should we invest our time doing? I could think of like 5 different organizations I could go out and say, hey, you want to adopt but I don't know how important this is. Is this like super valuable to you? Is it like just nice to have?
Absolutely, I think it's very important to have, especially with the limited staff that we have. This really helps us out on, at least 4 times a year, being able to say that somebody has gone out to these street medians that may be not at the top of our priority list. At least we know those groups are going out, and we've got the documentation to show that, hey, they're picking up trash. I believe on that documentation, it gets pretty detailed on how many bags you picked up, how many volunteers helped you. So I think it's very important. And city staff also uses those numbers on our MS4 report for their justifications as well. So the MS4 just basically shows our services throughout the year, how much trash and litter we pick up, how often we're at a site, doing trash and litter, mowing, weed eating, those types of things. So it's basically a frequency report.
And is participation level, going up, going down? We had more, is it,
I mean, we
historically,
definitely-
is the participation like declining,
We,
staying the
we
same?
definitely have more, but like Barbara said, it's, you gotta keep with it, you
have-
gotta
yeah.
re-engage, and we need to
Whoever
advertise.
does this has to really keep a track of it, and they're gonna really have to be able to engage with people. Because like just an example, we've had schools, hey, we're gonna adopt this area, which is great. The kids love it, they go out, but when that teacher moves on, it kind of falls through the cracks. That's where I would come in and say, hey, okay, this was adopted by this teacher, we still have it under your school. Who would you like to take it over? And I would share that contact and just keep going with it. And we even have a few group homes in town that adopt a few spots, and the individuals love to go out there. They love to go out there and be a part of the community and pick up trash.
It definitely has value. I mean, just looking at the McLaughlin Triangle, which is pretty prominent, I mean, everybody sees that, but now it's basically being fully maintained at a level that honestly we couldn't keep up with everything that we've got. So basically, all we need to do now is just occasionally put an eye on it and say, hey, is everything looking good? Is it working right? So
that's a decrease your maintenance requirements for that.
Yes, sir.
And big picture is kind of like a supplement to
A little bit, yes, sir.
maintenance.
If y'all get a chance to drive by the McLaughlin Triangle off of
Check it
Sherwood
out.
Way, drive by and look at the tremendous amount of work that that individual has put into that triangle.
Y'all need anything from us, like a motion to recommend or anything, or just this is a heads up, this is getting the word out about it?
yeah, I think Alicia wanted us to talk about it, and
Do we have
I think-
any like awards for, like the best kept adopt a spot or anything like that?
in the distant past, we used to, yeah. But we had more time to keep up with it, to be honest. We did. We had an annual event. But I think we had it for 3 or 4 years, and it kind of tapered in participation. And like I said, you've got to have somebody that spends a lot of time with this program and is more of a focus than I think it is now.
What work has been done coordinating with Keep San Angelo Beautiful as it relates to this?
So Keep San Angelo Beautiful, we've got a pretty good working relationship with them. Directly with the Adopt a Spot, I don't think we have anything directly tied to it. But I know when Charlotte was there's been some change in the management up there. But Charlotte would definitely always have groups that were volunteering in the parks, and she would work with ASU and other organizations and get the students involved and do massive cleanup days on the river or the Red Arroyo Trail and things like that.
Yeah, and she would basically schedule the event, and then she'd get with us, and like, where do you need some help picking up stuff? And a lot of times, they would want to do it on the river. It's like, well, that's a high visibility area. We're going to maintain that at a high level already, so you're not going to find a lot of litter along the downtown area of the river. But she would work with us. They would work with us to identify locations like the Red Arroyo.
Yeah, I'm wondering this will take staff time is the issue, right? But I'm wondering, is there an opportunity to partner with the chamber, where the chamber would do recognitions of somebody, or, there are ASU organizations that do highway cleanup. I happen to know one of them, but the
Maybe
San-
the
so the San-
Recreation
the Keep San
Division
Angelo
could take that
Beautiful-
on.
So what?
Maybe the Recreation Division could take that on.
I'm just wondering.
Or even Keep San Angelo Beautiful, like what kind of help would they be willing to offer in exchange for certain recognition for helping with this program? Like he said, staff availability is limited, which is why a program like this is really helpful to keeping the community vibrant and clean. But kind of going back to coordinating those efforts a little better with the marketing department, who can also coordinate with ASU. We have that additional outreach. We have Keep San Angelo Beautiful, who reaches out and saying, hey, what are you, would you be willing to help take certain things on to help expand and this program to make it more successful?
Yeah, we'll reach out to them, one about possibility of helping to identify like top performers for the year, and then also to see how they can help market the program, because they do a lot of outreach in that regard.
'Cause-
That's a good idea.
Because like San Angelo Beautiful is like I mean, it's always a one-time thing, right? They got a bunch of people, they have a bunch of, they've got a bunch of requirements for this park district or everybody else, and they do this big, but that's not a annual commitment. But I don't know if there are like, I don't know if organizations participate in San Angelo Beautiful that you could come back to and afterwards and say, hey, we really like that. Would you like to adopt this? I mean, it's because otherwise, it's a show up once, and when you do participate in San Angelo Beautiful, you're generally you're committing to do this one thing for this one period of time, right?
Well, and also, we might be able to have them come join on one of the next board meetings and talk about how we
Yeah,
can
maybe we
work
could
together.
talk about how we might collaborate, and maybe we could do it. Maybe we could do, I don't know, the ASU's Registered Student Organization. I don't know, but if there's a nexus of organizations that it would be worth having this conversation with, maybe we could do that. I don't know who it is outside of Santa. I don't know that the Angelo State RSOs is actually a good one. It just came to mind, but the trouble with that one, the half-life of a student organization is about 2 years.
Yeah.
So they.
Well, I think the first good step would be to join up with KSAB, Keep San Angelo Beautiful, and have a conversation with them to see how we could join efforts.
Because it sounds like we're already cooperating, right?
We
The
are.
question is, could we?
But it's not,
could we
it's
have a
not
more-
tied together.
Yeah, could we have a more fruitful cooperation, more effective, right?
Yeah. The Adopt Smart program isn't tied in with their efforts directly.
I think it'd be worth talking about.
Let's do it. Book it, Carl. Anyone else? Good plan to me. All right. We'll roll into item number 4, discuss the Parks and Recreation priorities for the coming fiscal year and recommend any related matters.
All right, this item does have a bit of discussion. We might limit it. Emily Jane was the one who asked for this item. I think it'll still have merit to have this discussion, but she's going to miss it. I'll show you what I've included. So this first document, which says major projects, I think I showed this to y'all without the additions at the bottom where it says new and without the new text with the yellow highlights. I shared this with y'all back in February, I believe, or maybe the March meeting, just to show you these are the major projects that I'm going to be focusing on for the next year and a half. And the highlights show some updates. And then at the bottom, since we talked about those projects, that's what's been added. And in the middle is a section that has projects I'm working with but aren't part of, they have their own boards to oversee those projects. Like the Fort has their own board for the Fort projects. Civic Events has it for the River Stage. Also, Fairmount Cemetery has their own board as well, but I've included them at the top. So in the riverbank, see if we can go through these quickly. That's bank stabilization, basically from where we stopped at Oak Street, Johnson Dam, working all the way downriver to Bell Street. And that's on the
Is it
city.
bank
Bank-
stabilization?
Bank stabilization,
Okay.
but only on the city's property, not private property. And that design is about 90% complete.
So do we have a scope of, does that come with a scope of work? Do we know what the cost?
Yes, and we'll get an estimate. I mean, earlier when we started this, we were thinking $12 million, but I'm sure the prices have gone up and we're looking at more. Problem, we don't have that money. We're going to have to go out for grants and see how interested council is in pursuing that project. But previously, council has directed us to get the design work done and funded that design work. So there's definitely interest in moving that
What
forward.
was it, what's the source for the design work? Is that city?
I think that
city
was
budget?
leftover, most of that was half sales tax.
Okay.
No, there's a bunch that was allocated towards river improvements. That is the Riverbank project, youth sports practice area, the 29th Street complex. We're trying to finish that project up, but we still have to do some things outside of the contract, like establish turf. So we're trying to finish that project up. Hopefully, we'll get it done this year. It's getting toward the end. Santa Rita Park, we held 5 neighborhood meetings and got a pretty good idea of what the neighborhood wants and doesn't want to do at the park. And we talked about fundraising, but at the last meeting, basically, the consensus was use the money that we have. We have $100,000 from half cent sales tax allocated to park improvements to do the things that we know we have to do there at the park. Repair some of the stone wall along the draw, repair the driveway, add a new parking area, repair the bridge. What else, Mario? That may be the big things.
Yeah, I think those are the big items.
Is there a way, I see the Concho Mail Station at the bottom, is there a way to move that up to 1, 2, or 3? I'm kidding.
This is not
I'm just
listed
glad it
in-
made the list.
This is not any kind of priority. It is a cool project.
So Santa Rita, just apart,
Just apart from Madison
just
to
right.
Monroe.
Does it go down the sulfur draw or just next to the, it's a big one just next to the
Just
school?
the park.
Okay.
It's
I'm
the
just trying to
main-
get I don't know, I don't have them all
It's
memorized.
the main part of the park that's
Okay.
by the school.
Oh, that's right, Bill, yeah, we were gonna do a big tour of all the parks one of these days.
Oh, yeah, let's
I-
do that.
Since you guys
We-
are.
we
doing
had it
Bill and
scheduled,
James,
but-
Let's do it. Yes.
Afterwards.
Yes,
Like a trip.
sponsored and paid for by Recreation Department. So,
I thought you had a sponsor for it. I do need to re-coordinate that.
No, I would love to do that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen them all, so that'd be a good time.
You think we
Yeah,
can
I
knock that out
will-
before?
I will get that
the
scheduled.
end
It's
of the year?
just, it's difficult to find a time to get the transportation, and then we had it scheduled, and then the flood came like a few days before that tour, and it didn't seem a good time to tour parks after the flood.
Well, you could also just give us a self-guided tour pamphlet and we could go do them when we have time, just saying.
Could.
I mean,
But where's the
I didn't
fun
know
in
how far
that?
Santa Fe went until
It's a
somebody
board-
took me on a tour up there.
Yeah.
Camaraderie kind of thing.
Yeah. With the after tour, after visit at one of the local brew pubs.
That's right, that's
Yeah,
right, that's
yeah.
the goal, that's the
I think
goal.
that's a good idea.
Pencil that in somewhere in priority.
Scavenger hunt.
Ooh, now we're talking, yes.
Y'all can coordinate that.
Cool.
And then, once we get those items done, fundraising does need to be done. I don't know if it includes irrigation or not, but fundraising does need to be done to do the other items. And I don't have that full list with me.
Do we have parties we know are interested?
For fundraising,
Yeah, for Santa Rita? I would guess actually that would be easier than some other places.
I would think so, but we didn't get a whole lot of takers on that.
Okay,
Let me go through these quickly.
sorry.
If we want to revisit any more in more detail, we can. Santa Fe Crossing Building, actually, Al's here. I don't know if you want to give an update on that. We've hired an engineer to look.
Good afternoon, Al Torres, construction manager. I was just telling Jesse that they did come and take a look at some of the structural issues, but I'm still waiting for some kind of recommendation from them. So I'm going to call them, I guess, in the morning and find out where that is. So they have looked at it, but we don't have a solution yet.
Okay.
Which building is that?
Santa Fe Crossing Building,
That,
SKG Engineering,
it's
the senior
the old
center.
freight depot. Where you met with me, the old
Okay,
freight
okay,
depot.
Yeah, okay. There's a whole bunch of buildings there. I don't know exactly which one is Santa Fe
And
Crossing.
we're looking at two buildings, that one and the one across the street,
Yeah.
the Station
Okay.
618. It has some issues with the columns down in the basement, and then the one Carl's in has a lot of issues, but in particular, there's some exterior structural cracks through the foundation. So we wanted to make sure that they're not
Okay.
gonna, they've been there for a while, so I don't think they're really urgent, but we want to make sure it's not something that needs to be addressed right away.
So it's ongoing. Let's see, Kids Kingdom Playground, that.
Thank you,
It's
Al.
gonna, at this point, will you have a question for me?
No, I said
Oh,
thank you.
Kids Kingdom Playground, at this point, it's gonna be wrapped in with the River Parks Master Plan.
Okay.
Splash pads, yay, done. Thank you, Alicia. You can knock that off the list.
And we haven't had any communist sympathizer revolts with us. I mean,
About both
I
of
was just
them?
talking about some of the bizarre press about those, that's all.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that they were communist.
I think
plots.
most people love them.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Jesse really loves them. Twin Buttes Reservoir Trails, that's ongoing. Twin Buttes, it's outside of the city limits. It's owned by the Bureau of Reclamation land. It's all around the Twin Buttes reservoirs. We're in agreement with the Bureau and TPWD, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, for TPWD to manage those lands under the public hunting lands. But there are also recreational trails in there. We got money in the past to put in signage for those trails and do some repair work on those trails and add a small pavilion and a parking area and some other signage. And that's ongoing. World War II Memorial, they've been fundraising. They've already started the project. I think they've done a fair amount of site work, but no hard work, right?
No, mostly site preparation, dirt work and stuff like that.
So it's being implemented. Parkland dedication ordinance, it's kind of dead in the water at the moment, pending council's direction. So the leases, yeah, that shows updates on all those different leases. Fairmount Cemetery, well, I won't cover that because that's not under, it's a separate board. River wayfinding, we're on the 5th version of the design. We're getting close to the end of okaying the design. Once that gets okayed, we'll have them get all the permits. This is a company, we did it through the bidding process. It's a company out of Cleveland, Ohio. And then they'll come and work with the local sign company they'll fabricate them and then the local sign company will install them. Hopefully that'll start this fall. And then Concha Mill Station, I'll skip over that one.
What? Bill was just asking, what's the concept?
I just talked with the
I don't know what this is, so.
I talked to the archaeologist earlier this week, last week. They've done the initial site survey, but then they've got to get in and do a full archaeological survey. It's located south by Ben Ficklin.
Kind of like over there by Mosaic, the old Cenresis,
Oh.
right across the street.
It's an interesting location, and the thought is to identify what's out there, what
Okay.
remains, and then do an interpretive trail with some parking, so folks can go out there and take a walk. It would be maybe a half-mile trail, but it would be an interesting historical addition. It was a private mail station that operated during the time of the fort. And I'll skip over the non-Parks and Rec items. And so the new items are, actually, this one isn't new, it just wasn't on the list before. Storage facility at the Texas Bank Sports Complex and the shade structure at the playground. Those are being implemented now. When we reported this back in February, we didn't have the parks, River Parks Master Plan. So we got 11 submissions. Heather was on the scoring committee. Yeah, it was a little tedious to review and score all those. Actually, Mario was
You
too.
had 11
We had 11
responses there?
submissions.
Very
Wow.
well done there, T.
Yeah, it took me 12 hours, so.
Yeah, it took me 6 hours to go through them. What,
Harry said 5.
took him 5
It took
hours?
him 5 hours.
Yeah. It was, yeah. The good thing is we got 11 submissions. The bad thing is we got 11 submissions. Those have all been scored, and so we've identified the top 3. I'm trying to coordinate a time for them to come in and to meet with the committee. We're probably looking at October 20 now.
Is that going to be closed with the
Can't
committee?
do
or-
that? October 20. I know we had, I wanted the 9th, but half the folks can't make it. So we're looking at the 20th now. We're bringing the top 3 firms, give them basically 40, 45 minutes to give a presentation. and
45 minutes.
40, 45. We'll probably do it over at the convention center. And so with that, we'll identify one firm to recommend to council to hire. And in the meantime, I'm rounding up the money to hire that firm. I have to go beg for it, basically. I love my job. Let's see. Civic venues assessment, yes, we put out a request for proposals to firms, got those in before the river master plan. We got 5 submissions there. We've narrowed it down to a couple that we'll probably either invite in or do online interviews with them. This is outside of Parks and Recreation, but it's basically looking at the convention center and property we own on the river. Is it feasible? Does it make sense? Is it marketable if we either expand the existing convention center, add an exhibit hall, more breakout rooms, better connection to the hotel that's adjacent, or to make us more marketable for bigger conferences, or do we look at the property we have on the river to build a hotel conference center that wouldn't probably likely have an exhibit hall, but at least you'd have a place to have conferences right on the river downtown, which would be cool. So we're looking to hire a firm to help us through that process.
That's the civic venues
Yes.
assessment?
Is it feasible? Is it marketable? Does it make sense to do one or the other or neither? And the good thing is with this project is it would be funded with the venue tax. And the venue tax is put on your hotel stay. You probably see it when you go stay at hotels. It's a tax that visitors pay, not citizens.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Coliseum expansion, we've been meeting on that. We have to have a separate agreement with the Stock Show Rodeo Association. It's called a 380 agreement. They're working through that. Once that gets established, they're already working through the plans to review the plans. That project's already designed. It's a complete renovation and expansion of that facilities. It was a bond issue. It got voted in. $42 million project. At this point, we're looking at starting it probably in the spring. We've got to line everything up. We've got to bid it out. It's going to take 2 to 3 months for that. So, again, that's not under y'all, but I'm just adding it to the list of stuff that I'm working on. And then hot allocations, hotel occupancy tax allocations. I'm working with that with the Art Commission. And then, this is on the horizon. I hope to round up the money for it. But the last time we did a Parks and Recreation Open Space Master Plan, transitioning to this was 2020. They're usually good for 5-7 years, which means we're due to do the next one. I won't be here to do that. Maybe I'll be here to get that going, but I'll at least want to round up the money for the next person to have it. So the next page, if y'all remember this was one of the key things that came out of that plan, is our top facility items that were identified in the 2020 plan. We've made good progress on a lot of the top 10, not all of them, but I won't go through all of them, but of course, splash pads. We're adding shade, we've added shade at different locations, and we're starting to add more shade to playgrounds, and now we're working with Mothers and Me Association to add shade at Webster and perhaps other playgrounds. And we're more cognizant of adding shade at new projects, like at Kids Kingdom. When we do that, we need to add more shade. Restrooms, added restrooms at 29th Street Complex and at MLK, et cetera, et cetera. So we've been working off that list. We do need to update that with the next master plan. The next document is this one that says Parks and Recreation projects unfunded, improvement projects prioritized draft. So that's when, after the last Parks and Recreation Open Space Master Plan was adopted by council, we went through all of our projects and prioritized them back then. I'm not saying these are the things we need to focus on. I don't know that we need to talk much about that. And then this next sheet, and we can come back to any of this. This next sheet is from 2017, so it's dated at this point. But we went through a process looking at all of our key properties. It's 2 pages. You know, what condition are they in? Is anything going on with those properties? Are they getting renovated or not? Are they properties we need to maintain, invest in, or divest? So we went through that process. And maybe it's time to redo that again. And then more recently, this same document I handed out, but it has notes on it. You may not be able to read my notes, but it talks about, it's that same list that has all of our facilities and all of our properties, but it has notes about different properties that could be either transferred or divested. So Emily Jane wanted to talk about kind of readdressing our priorities. I've kind of done that for things coming up in the next year and a half. So I don't know how much more in depth we want to go. My opinion is, I mean, we can do some adjustments to what we've got going on. Please don't add any more projects unless city council tells me. I think that it'd probably be best to go through the Parks and Recreation Open Space Master Plan process again, because that involves everybody. Board, council, community. Everybody tells us what their priority is. But at this point, I'd say just let's make adjustments until then.
What's up with the nature center? Is that still open out at, and it was out at the lake, right?
Yeah, the Nature Center, it closed, I guess 2-3 years now.
Yeah, that's
Time
what I
flies.
thought.
So it's a vacant building. It's a building that is in a park property. That property is zoned RS1.
Okay,
People have, I would say half dozen different people, businesses have approached us about renting it for different reasons. Education, restaurant, retail. And so we went to council in executive session, asked them,
it just strikes me as, from a functional use standpoint, that would be a lot more symbiotic with the river parks than out
nature
where it
center?
was. And I wonder if that can be in the scope of the master plan for the parks. Because we've got, and man, I don't have all these names memorized. Where where the Lily Garden is, and that's actually theoretically the botanical garden for the,
Right.
and it strikes me as really, I mean, isn't that where you'd want a nature center?
Is it big enough for an nature center? I don't know. There is property that we own between 19th Street and 29th Street. It's a lot more acreage.
Right.
I think that would be a better place for a nature center. We actually have a conceptual what that building could look like.
Okay. I mean, it seems to me that that's all, from a land use planning standpoint and a function, that all fits together, right?
Yeah, I wonder how close you could have a nature center to residential areas. That's my concern.
Okay.
Because of the smell and because animals could get out. And how much space does that take with the building, pens, parking? I'm open to it, but you've got to find a bigger property, in my opinion.
But why take on the overhead of something else You know,
Sorry?
is why take on the overhead of something else if we're kind of spread thin as is? would be kind of my
I'm
concern.
aware of the maintenance tail of things,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and preferably in that model, somebody comes in with the capital
To do-
and
yeah,
own,
yeah.
and basically owns that and runs it on
Right.
their own.
Maybe it's a public partnership, maybe it's a PPP. Right?
Because I want to say it's, Abilene, I think does a good job of getting some other people to come in and run it with partnerships with the city.
Abilene?
Abilene.
Yeah, well, there's zoo. They got a nice little zoo. Yeah, it's fairly successful. And it is owned by the city, right?
I believe so, yeah. I can do my research on that, but yeah, they're successful there. I mean, then I think they're, Mario, do your kids play at all at the Abilene complex?
Yes.
So,
I didn't realize they put up that big facility right next to the zoo. That thing is massive.
yeah.
Yeah,
Them
they've got
lights,
the,
that's an
Yeah.
awesome
I
deal.
they've
I
got
took
the
my
Dodge
daughter-
Jones, which is basketball, volleyball, and then they just added, I think, baseball fields, if I'm not mistaken, behind that, or maybe
Is that
soccer
all
fields.
The Dodge Jones Trust?
Yeah, Dodge Jones.
That's a good deal. That's a nice
Yes.
setup out there.
Yeah, we took my daughter to the Abilene Zoo and had to stop by there to see, because they had a tournament going on in there and just seeing what the facility was like. But it's not even just the inside is great. They even have a place for a truck to pull back and unload and have, like garage doors on the side. I mean, they really thought out a lot of different uses for the building and the function and running it, so.
Good for them. All right. What else, Carl?
Yeah, that's my recommendation. We don't need to take any action. It's just, let's make adjustments
That mail station.
until the next master plan.
Bullet pointer too. Perfect. Well, thank you, Carl. We'll move on to item 5, hear and discuss updates on key activities, projects, programs, and events from the Parks and Recreation Divisions.
Yep, I'll go first. So we have been fortunate. We've hired a few individuals. Last time I spoke to you, I think we had 11 positions open. We're down to 9.
Oh, good.
With 2 that are going through the process right now. So hopefully we can get that down to 7 by mid-month. We're still in maintenance mode. The grass is still green, it's still growing, but here pretty quick we'll transition into our fall and winter maintenance, which includes a lot more tree maintenance. Last year we were focused on stump grinding. A lot of the trees that had been removed, stumps were left behind and they were unsightly and safety issues. So we focused our attention on trying to get those stumps ground. And this year we're going to focus on the tree trimming, tree planting, and those types of maintenance deals. We just, like Carl talked about earlier, we had the Riverfest last weekend and we had Lily Fest the week before, which actually takes a lot of our time in preparation for those 2 events. And we also work those events, so we have staff come in and work overtime to pick up trash and help with those 2 major events. So, and they were a huge success. There was so many people at both events. They were great. Concho Christmas is starting back up. We just had a luncheon today, and we help with the maintenance to prepare for the displays going up and stuff like that. So we're working on that. Majority of it is down the Santa Fe Park on the river area where most of the displays go. So we're working on that, and then we're going to start getting ready for our pre-emergent applications for stickers and the fall and winter weeds. So we're very busy. On top of that, we've got lots of projects going on. Carl mentioned a few of them, so we're busy.
I was going to mention, so Dawn is here, but she's recently gotten promoted. Well, I don't know if you want to announce that or not. Okay, never mind. Let Jesse announce that.
Oh, I mean, you're good to announce it, if you wanted to right then. But
Did
yeah,
y'all
so
have, did y'all have any
Dawn,
questions for me before I turn my mic off?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I
Mario.
appreciate it.
Yes, on the rec side, Dawn recently took the position of the recreation supervisor position for our nutrition program and senior services. So right now she's wearing 3 hats. She's park admin, rec admin, and then helping out with the senior stuff, both on the rec and nutrition side. Which on the nutrition side, we have slower participation right now with fall. Basically, once we get out of summer, it starts to dive down a little bit, and then after we get out of winter, it picks back up. The big thing going on there on the nutrition side is next month, we'll get ready for our Thanksgiving meal that we'll have. That usually has a pretty solid turnout. Over 100 seniors come out to that to do that. So prep for that. Have lost funding, wrapping up last year and then going to this fiscal year for our nutrition program. So just being creative of raising some money and getting some awareness out there. One thing I want to bring to the board for a future discussion is we'd like to do a fundraiser, like a kickball tournament at the complex. So instead of just flat out asking businesses for money, it's like, hey, would y'all put together a kickball team and y'all raise $500, come out, and then we'll charge a gate fee, and all that goes towards, the nutrition program is what we like to do for future stuff. Right now, Mario mentioned Riverfest. We had that going on. We had games at the complex, so around 100 teams played at the complex, and then a little over 10 played over at the River Stage. So we had our Pee Wee and divisions and our 5U division play over at the fields by where all the vendors were during Riverfest. That went really well. I'd say I think the only hiccup we had was we had it was scheduled earlier in the year. Didn't think about the logistics of it. We had a Sunday tournament scheduled. I think for next year we probably won't do a Sunday tournament on the same weekend as Riverfest. Just focus on the youth sports and then Riverfest itself, just to be able to not spread our resources kind of too thin in terms of personnel and stuff. But other than that, I mean, the kids love to be able to finish the game and go do the activities and all that. And Parks did a really good job of making a playable field for those kids over there, in addition to everything else that they had to do. Football, we're in the middle of our flag football season, and then we're going to be starting here soon on our basketball registration. This week wrapped up our fall softball for the adults because we had a rain out last Tuesday, so it was more lightning was the issue. So they wrapped up this Tuesday, but our next session starts next week for adult softball. This week, adult volleyball started up the next session going on. We have competitive women, rec women, and then a co-ed rec league. So it's Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday. But we have all the games going on at Carl Ray right now. We got some money allocated to repairs for Southside to fix some issues we have there. So we had a part of the ceiling and over by a window that's just been slowly getting worse over time and started to collapse a little bit. So we have all games at Carl Ray so that once we get all of our bids done for Southside, we can get that done, because chances are whoever works on that is going to have scaffolds up for more than one day inside. So it wouldn't be feasible to have that broken down for games and then back up for whenever they repair. So for this fall session. So hopefully, if everything goes well, spring we'll be able to bring back maybe some adult basketball when we're able to use both Carl Ray and Southside at once. And then around that Thanksgiving time, we're going to have a turkey shoot. So we do it every year where it's a basketball shooting competition, and the winner of each division gets a turkey, and then second and third place can get a pie. So if you are interested in partaking in that, we've already picked out our theme for date night. So it's Follow the Yellow Brick Road. So set up for that would be February 22nd. That's a Sunday, and then that starting the 23rd through the Thursday, we'll have each night. We're going to be working on getting some sponsors for different stuff, whether helping out with decor, DJ, snacks, prizes. So it seems far away, but we're going to blink and we're there. So,
Good deal.
but yeah, that's Shrek in a nutshell. Splash Pad wraps up on the 15th. for both of those and getting those going for winterization and then starting back up. So.
Stick antifreeze and all that stuff, or what do y'all do?
So we drain them, and then after we drain them, there's a line, there's a spot to basically plug in a compressor and give it one last blow through, because with as thin as the lines are and how several of them are above concrete, in the winter, if you even just leave a little bit in those little nooks, it'll bust your pipe. So last year it worked out. I think we only had one spot, but it was coming out from the splash pad, like from the side, and it was above ground. So that was a quick fix, and us in True Tex Plumbing now know what to do on that end. Draining the tank. So there's basically a storage tank of water. We wait for all the chlorine to be out of it. So we let the filter keep cycling through. And once I read the chlorine at 0, then I'll get with Parks to coordinate a day to where I could slowly pump out the water. So irrigate some of the trees instead of like flooding a whole spot or something like that, you know. Kirby Park will be the new adventure on winterizing, because it's set up a little differently, but we've talked out some different things because there's some trees right outside the pump room. So there's some different option for us to use that water. But the main thing is making sure that water has no chlorine in it anymore before we dump it back out, so Mario doesn't beat me up later. So, but that's everything on the rec side.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. Anything else on that? Questions, comments, concerns? All right. We'll move to number 6, consider future agenda items.
Looks like our next meeting is Wednesday, November 5. So I've got, let's see if we can get Keeps an Angel Beautiful here to have a conversation about working together. I do need to give an update on the river master plan. I know I got to get back on schedule a tour, but that would be separate from that meeting.
Yeah.
I'm sure something else will come up.
Awesome. All right. Anybody got anything else? Other future agenda items? All right. Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and a second.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. All right. Thanks, guys. Good questions.